Thank you, Chairman Cook, Ranking Member Cetus. Much has been said about the vacuum of leadership that has been left open by the United States for decades and decades. And we may think that the main beneficiary of such vacuum are countries like Venezuela, but I submit to you that I believe it's China. I think China will come in and fill that vacuum and build roads and bridges and dams and tunnels and major infrastructure projects that are necessary and critical to the economies of these countries, much like Venezuela did with Petrocaribe in the Caribbean when the oil was very expensive and could cripple the economy of those small countries. So, in essence, what you see is an allegiance of those countries based on pure economic interests, very much the way we do with some countries in the Middle East, where we support a dictator or a ruthless leader because they may benefit our crude political interests or economic interests there. Those countries chose to align themselves, at least temporarily, if not permanently, with troubling governments like the one in Venezuela. So we must regain the ability to invest in the region so that we could again fill that vacuum, and we do not yield that vacuum to a country that's already very much present there and investing heavily and bringing with it all the issues, that negative issues such as currency manipulation, an assault on intellectual property rights, and the rest to our hemisphere. And so I think that we're really, Almagro has been very active. In fact, he has been demonizing Venezuela and Ecuador. He's persona non grata in those countries. He has been a strong supporter of bringing democracy and stability to Venezuela. But unfortunately, he could not get the votes. We could not get the votes because we have abandoned the region in a dramatic way in the last 40, if not 60 years. So my question is to Mr. Aguilar. He has really emphasized the issue of LGBT rights and same-sex marriage. Let me remind you that same-sex marriage is already legal in Colombia, Brazil, Uruguay, Argentina, and although not entirely in Mexico, in Mexico City, as well as La Madre Patria, Spain. So I just want to ask you if you don't think that violating the high number of homicides or violent, vicious crime against gay people in those countries, or the patterns of discrimination preventing gay people from getting jobs, or any other sort of discrimination that is rampant and institutionalized in those countries, maybe because even of their religious background, if that doesn't constitute a reason for the court to have a strong decision on whether or not that is a troubling situation in those countries.
No, thank you for the question. I think it's a very valid question, and I think I was trying to make that point that those are the type of issues that the Commission and the court should get involved in. When there is discrimination, harassment against people because of their sexual orientation, clearly that's a violation of the American Convention. Now, that is different from the issue of same-sex marriage. You mentioned several countries, Colombia, Argentina, Uruguay, where it is legal, and that's fine. They've gone through their political process, through their constitutional system, like the United States has, and have legalized same-sex marriage. But it's up to them. It's not for the court to make that determination for them. And this is the problem. When we've had a court just a few weeks ago come up with a decision imposing on 20 countries under the jurisdiction, some of them, most of them, who haven't legalized sex marriage, telling them, now you have to. That's for those countries to decide.
Well, I think it's very much connected. I think it is very much connected that if people of the same sex holding hands down a street are viciously beaten because they're married or killed, and there is a vicious pattern of that, I think that constitutes a very big violation of their rights. And so Mr. Quilter, maybe you would like to add to that?
Yes, I would. I have a very, very different take on this specific issue, and that is that I'm a lawyer. It is a normal thing for a court to either be pushing on the arc of a particular issue within a society, or maybe sometimes lagging. I don't see this as a problem for the Inter-American Court at all. I think what is being said here is that it may have been impolitic or may have been out of step, but we all know that the arc of this issue bends toward more protections for the LGBT community, not less. That is where it's all going. The fact that the court is a little bit ahead of a particular country, really, that's not a reason for them not to be playing in that sandbox.
Okay, let me just conclude, Mr. Chairman, by saying that I very much feel that this current budget, as presented by President Trump, further aggravates the reliability and functionality of the OAS, and that we must move in a different direction. Thank you.